this is the Abu Garcia Revo SX, and this is the 30 size, comparable to, I guess, a 3000 size reel. This is a reel that's, I think, very similar to the reason or of this review, which there's not a lot of Nomad Seacore reviews out there. There's not a lot out there as well that I see on this reel, the Abu Garcia Revo. Very, very solid spinning reel. Not sure if it's really geared towards fresher or saltwater application, but I've used it in saltwater. I've used it in, brackish water as well. And it's performed just as well as my Shimanos have. I've had this reel for going on a couple of years now. Caught a lot of fish on it, and it still feels as smooth as it did out of the box. It's got 150 yards of Power Pro, super slick, the 8 strand, also running that Suffix 14 pound fluorocarbon leader on there as well. Pretty cool looking. It's got a 6:2 gear ratio, so it's going to be slightly faster than the Stradic HG. To be honest, I think on this Seacore rod, this is the reel that I feel like balances the best weight wise. Really feels great. Lightweight. I could fish this all day. It's rated at around 14 pounds of drag. So not as much as the Shimanos, but it's plenty. It's plenty actually fishing inshore. I use it, caught, up to maybe a 28-inch striper on this reel, and handle it just fine. Drag sounds amazing, super smooth. Very underrated. I feel like kind of a sleeper. I think, but been loving this reel since I got it, and like I said, it still feels smooth to this day after a couple of years of pretty good use. Now some of the basically I would throw any of these lures. This is kind of my all-around option when I go with this Abu Garcia Revo, paired up with that Seacore. It gives me the most range, I feel like, as far as just comfort fishing lures. Like I said, they all can fish these lures, but the 2500 size, when you're fishing some of the faster lures, of course you're gonna have to crank it faster to get that same speed out of a higher gear ratio lure. And then the higher gear ratio, kind of the slower speed lures, you're gonna really have to consciously slow that down, to get it to move a little slower from that higher gear ratio. So sleeper, very underrated, very solid. I'm gonna be fishing this reel a lot. I'm gonna catch a lot more fish on it. It's held up very nice, and I've done actually very little maintenance on it. Now I'm not out here dunking this reel in the water. It's not seeing a lot of elements. I do fish this reel in cleaner places, and what I mean cleaner is, I mean like I'm not normally in the dirt or or in the mud or sand or, you know, places where there's a lot of debris around the ground when I'm fishing this reel. So doesn't see a lot of harsh conditions, if you will. Fish in the rain, of course. I don't think any of these have any problem in the rain. It's just water, which these are around water all the time. They're going to get wet. You're going to get a little water spray from the line anyways. But that reel's held up great for me. It's been a great reel. If it ever does go down, I'd have no problem buying another one. So the Garcia Revo 30, all around very good. I would recommend it. Now we go to this one. This is kind of a special reel to me. It's a Shimano Sustain. This was my first kind of higher end Shimano purchase, right? Silky smooth reel. I think it has 9 or 10 bearings, 8 or somewhere in there. A few more bearings than you would get. This reel is around 300 and a quarter or so. Oh, by the way, the Garcia retail $179. So very good deal in the Garcia. So, but Sustain's right at around 320 to 350, depending on the size you get. This is a 3000 HG, right? So the HG, just like the Stradic 2500 HG, is a 6 to 1 gear ratio. However, I fished this Sustain, you know, stock out of the box. I've had this reel for close to a couple of years, and I was fishing it more finesse applications, you know, lighter weight lures, 1/4 ounce lures. You know, I was throwing on it, you know, under a 1/2 ounce really, and it was great. Caught a ton of fish on this as well, especially towards the end of the year. Last year, I started using it a bit more, and had a Shimano 3000 XG, which I was having some issues with the clutch and anti-reverse system. So it was pretty much, it was spinning backwards, that the Stradic that I had. So anyway, bought another one. Love the Stradic reel. Always gonna have one. Bought another 3000 XG reel. But decided to kind of do a little experiment. You know, the Shimanos I have opened up and I've maintenance them. I'm used to kind of seeing, you know, what's inside of them. I understand what makes them work. So end up popping this bad boy open. Taking the Stradic apart, the 3000 XG, and swapped out the pinion and main gear for the 6:4 to 1 gear ratio. So I swapped that out with the Sustain. So now I have a Shimano Sustain with the 6:4 to 1 gear ratio. Now this is extra fast. Now this is an extra fast reel. So this is faster than the stock one. They don't make a XG version, and the Sustain FJ in the 3000 size, only up to an HG. So we have a Sustain XG. So the Stradic gearing in there. So go over this reel. It's 20 pounds of drag, just like the Shimano Stradic. Couple upgrades on here. Got the reel stand, of course. Love the reel stand. You see I use it a whole lot. Had this reel a couple of years, and that kind of shows you, you know, using that reel stand, your reel does not get nicked or dinged up. You know, if you're gonna spend $300-400 on a spinning reel, buy a $15 reel stand. if you can find one, right? So we got the faster action. Love it because now this is the lightest reel of the three overall that I fish on my Nomad Seacore. It really saves the weight here and the sustain with MGL rotor. Similar to the Vanford, but I think the Vanford has that CI4 plus body. This one, I think the sustain still has the metal one. Yeah, that's metal, I guess. But very strong reel, very lightweight reel. Love fishing it on the Nomad Seacore anytime. 15-pound Power Pro as well on this one. Same Suffix 14-pound advanced fluorocarbon on there. Now let's go. I mean, the main difference between the lines before we get into the lures, I just wanted to kind of, before I forget to go over it, before we get into the lures that I like to fish on the faster gear. Here I have the Nomad Panderra 15-pound versus the Power Pro 8X, the Super Slick. The main differences, I think, between these two lines is that the Nomad Panderra, I think it tends to give you a little more feel, and it feels a bit thinner as well. Like I said, on the 2500 spool versus the 3000 spool, I was able to still get 150 yards of the Nomad on there versus the 150 yards of the Nomad on the 2500 size spool and 150 yards of the Power Pro on the 3000 size spool. And they're both pretty much packed to the brim. So I believe the Nomad is going to be a hair thinner than the Power Pro. Gives you a bit more feel, and I think it's a little bit smoother through the guides. It gives you a little bit better cast, you know, a few more feet of cast, really, if you need. The braid is very, very soft. Very soft compared to the Power Pro. The Power Pro is a little bit rougher feel. However, I mean, I fished Power Pro for a long time. I started using the Nomad. I use the Nomad when I want to fish finesse. I use the Power Pro pretty much for everything else in this specific weight, in this 15-pound. The only, so I think the Nomad, like I said, it's a little thinner. It gives you a little more casting distance. However, I do not believe it's as durable as the Power Pro. I think you could fish the Power Pro a lot longer without changing it out than you can fish the Nomad. I'd fish either of them any day. Doesn't make a difference, you know, a huge difference to me. I use them both. I like them both. They're great. And like I said, these products, I use them because I like them. You know, I tried the Nomad out and I liked it, and it's going to stay. Some of my reels are going to have the Nomad line on them. Some of them are going to have Power Pro. So wanted to cover that before we got into some of the faster lures that I actually like to throw on the sustain. We got a mag darter. This is the 4-inch 105 size. The mag darters are going to be coming out pretty soon, kind of mid to late spring. We're going to start to see some top water action here. This is the 1 ounce size, the 5-inch, a little bit bigger. Not a pain at all to throw. Like I said, it's a little bit, this lure does have a lip on it, or they call it, say, lipless, but I kind of, you know, will count that. It's got a little angle there as a lip, but tends to feel a little bit less resistant than a 1 ounce lure with an actual lip, like something like this Minnow has. But I'll fish these as well. This is the Minnow 105, right around 4 inches. Those are very good to throw, you know, a little higher speed. YoZuri 3D inshore minnow. Caught one of my largest striped bass on that lure there. Jerk baits. Jerk baits, I like to fish them with a little bit faster reel. Sometimes you do have to work them fast, and that lip just, you know, the faster your reel, or the more spins you can get around the spool with less cranks. You know, with the lure on the lip, with the lure with a lip on it, you know, it kind of saves you a little bit of effort, to where you're not having to, you know, use as many cranks to collect that line, right? So you're fishing them a little faster. A little bit smaller size 3D inshore minnow. We were doing really good with these over the summer, late June to July. Rattle traps. Rattle traps are great to fish kind of when you're cranking it with the faster speed lure. You can still fish them slow with that as well. Yeah, that about covers, I think, everything here today for the video. Hope this is helpful to you guys. I hope you enjoy it. I'm glad I could share some of this with you. Like I said, any of these reels work very well, you know, on the Nomad Seacore, Nomad design, right? Seacore Inshore spinning rod. Like I said, again, I'm very excited to fish this rod this year. It's, you know, quickly become my favorite rod to use after catching, you know, half dozen or so fish on it. I'm really excited. So look, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys. If you liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment. Like I said, we're still trying to grow the channel. First kind of in-person video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Much more to come. We got surf equipment. We're gonna do some not tutorials, kind of like the knots that I like to use and how I tie my baits, how I tie my braid to my leader. So look out for those coming up, and of course a lot more fishing. So thanks a lot. We'll see you guys next time.